can't drink it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let the peanut gallery getting full up there, right?
Today? Too nervous all day.
Yes.
Too nervous all day. Too nervous to work.
Just have her be ready when the time comes, I guess.
If we run out halfway through the meeting, we'll just have to call for more. Which did come in.
Do you have an extra seat there? I gotta find a seat for Bruce.
I think the last time I saw you was over at Emerson's.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Did you ever buy that thing?
Yeah.
That big smoker
I
thing?
did.
You
I
did?
own it.
How is it? Does it work?
The best thing
That thing
ever.
was crazy. I couldn't believe that unit.
Best thing ever.
I love that guy. He's the most honest guy I've ever seen in my life.
Very close friends with him.
son's friend took his car to Jeep. Jeep told him that he needed brakes and tires for
You bring in
inspection.
Emerson.
He took it to Emerson's. Here's your inspection sticker. There's nothing wrong with your car.
They love to do it.
He was mad. And like I told Anthony, the man's license is on the line. He can't go just sticking a sticker in there. And you didn't tell him that, I sent you over. You just said, please inspect my vehicle. I trust that guy.
Are we ready? Feeling ready? Anything you say, these mics will pick up. You don't have to have it right in front of you. It picked up Eileen ironing the tablecloth yesterday, so it's hot all the time. So just
I got a big mouth anyway.
I think I'm going to start because it's 6 o'clock.
Is your mic on?
Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Mic's on. Josh, I don't know.
You don't want to have a sound malfunction like the delivery range.
Wait, was that my water back here? I get dry mouth.
Oh, no question.
Testing.
I fit this already. It's not working. He's working on it.
There's more water under the table if anybody needs another one.
Excellent news.
Testing 1 2.
Hello? Can you hear me now? Brent, can you hear us?
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing.
Guys?
Testing.
Do you have to talk right there? I don't know if he's going to hear you.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Coffee, Connections, and Candidates, sponsored by the Swanzey Preservation Society. We're a 501c3 nonprofit here in Swansea, and the organization was founded in 1992 to foster appreciation of the history and the heritage of the town of Swansea. In addition to fostering history and heritage, the Preservation Society provides educational opportunities and initiates and participates in various preservation projects to benefit the town of Swansea and keep the heritage alive. Would you all join me and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And Jane Johnson, would you lead us?
Where is the flag? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Society recognizes that citizens of Swansea, past and present, have contributed to preserving, promoting, and making the history of Swansea. A variety of membership options are available, and we welcome everyone to be part of preserving the past by joining this organization. My name is Norm Swanzey, and I'm a member of the Swansea Preservation Society, and I'll be serving as tonight's moderator. To my left is Eileen Lange, who is our president of the society, and she'll be keeping time for our questions. At this time, I'd like to ask the members of the Swansea Preservation Society that are here tonight attending to please stand up and be recognized for their hard work putting this together. There are coffee, water, and snacks that have been provided by the Preservation Society. Please help yourself. Candidates have also been invited to leave their campaign material on the table behind me at the back of the hall for you to take and read. Our exits for tonight are the main entrance that you came in, and behind us over here at the rear, at the front of the hall is the other exit. Tonight, we're working in cooperation with town officials in hosting this event, Coffee Connections and Candidates. Like our monthly Coffee Connections group for senior citizens, the Preservation Society seeks to host this event to facilitate a casual, nonpartisan, community-based candidates night. It's our sincere hope that voters will gain insight into the opinions of the candidates who seek to hold local office in Swansea. For candidates, we hope this event provides you with an opportunity to introduce yourself, discuss your ideas, and articulate your intentions with respect to the position that you seek to fill. There are 21 candidates running in 9 separate races. There's 4 uncontested races for supervisor of the checklist, trustee of the trust fund, trustee for Stratton Free Library, trustee for Mount Caesar Union Library. There's a 3-way race for town moderator, a 2-way race for town clerk, a 4-way 2-seat race for zoning board of adjustment, and a 2-way 1-seat race for the planning board. 7-way race for 1 seat on the board of selectmen, and the selectmen candidates are seated here at the table with me. Tonight's event is designed to allow the voter the chance to listen to the candidates discuss issues important to the town. This is not a traditional debate format. There are 3 separate segments, all designed to help voters better understand the candidates. So for the first portion tonight, we're going to introduce candidates who seek the non-selectman position. And they'll have the opportunity to give their name, their address, and take a couple of minutes to explain why they're running for office and what they hope to accomplish during their term. Oh, it's going to be Joan? Yep. Okay. So Joan Hagar is going to come around this first row where the non-selectman candidates are sitting. We're going to give you the microphone. Just take a few minutes, like 3 or 4. Tell us why you're running and what you hope to achieve.
This way.
When you want the name tag at the end.
Joanne.
Thanks for leading off, by the way.
Absolutely. So my name is Ashley Crosby. I live at 43 Foxhorn Road in Swansea. I am currently the recreational director for the town. I previously have been the deputy town clerk and assistant town clerk. I am currently running for town moderator in hopes to continue my efforts to be involved with our elections, improve our elections, and really streamline our processes with all of our elections and improve the connection between our current ballot clerks and election workers and our town clerk office.
My name is Ann Heffernan, and I'm a candidate for moderator. My experience over the last 20 years in Cheshire County running and helping to organize large and small events makes me confident that I can facilitate Swansea's election process effectively, capably, and smoothly. I would like to see a process that involves more cooperation between the moderator and the town clerk, especially because I feel that this will be a challenging election cycle. I also want our deliberative sessions to be conducted efficiently and knowledgeably with a clear understanding of the warrants that are being presented. This is my skill set. I have confidently chaired many meetings. I know the most effective way to run meetings while keeping to the agenda and to stay on task while allowing attendees to express their thoughts and opinions. I've had the opportunity to attend many Swansea board meetings over the last few years. and I'm gratified to see how local people volunteer their time and knowledge to Swanzey. While I have volunteered on a county basis, I would very much like to do so for Swanzey. I promptly return phone calls and emails and can be relied upon to respond in a timely manner.
Good evening. I'm Ann Karasinski. I live at 27 Park Street in North Swansea. I'm running for re-election on the zoning board. I look forward to serving in another term. I've grown in my experience, and I believe that I have really taken the spirit of the zoning laws to heart, and I look forward to getting input from the town itself in the form of what's going to be on the ballot here. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mark Scalera. I'm running for the planning board. I'm also a candidate for the trustees of trust fund. Currently, I do reside on the conservation committee and the economic development action committee in town. I'm also the president of the Wilson Pond Association. I do reside at 33 Lake Street on Wilson Pond. I'll say my interest in town politics really developed as I was opposing one of the large 4-story developments that was going up in our neighborhood. Since then, I don't think there's too many planning board, zoning board, select board meetings that I've missed, either directly or watching the video or reading their minutes. I just feel now that I'm retired, I have lots of time, and I'm going to give it to this community to see if we can control what's going on. And I'm sure it's a concern of everybody's here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bruce Tatro. I'm running for moderator. I'm also state representative for Swansea. And I'd like to continue as moderator. It is a lot more than what is laid out. I realize it's a generic description, but you're responsible for getting people to work at the polls, assuring that all the ballots are counted properly and run through the machines, and there's set up and tear down and so forth that goes along with it, as well as coordination with the schools. I'd like to continue as moderator. We had a little bit of a time this last time because we didn't have a PA system, and people were having a hard time hearing. I can assure you, next time I will have a PA system. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashley Patnode. I have been serving as the deputy town clerk since December of 2020. So it's been about 3.5 years. I am running for a town clerk because I would really love to serve you all full time. I would love to continue doing the great work that we're doing at the town hall, improving the town clerk's office. I would love to look into different systems and bringing in credit cards. And if anybody has any questions for me, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Heather Estrada. I'm currently your town clerk, but also running for re-election for the next term of 3 years. I was elected 3 years ago in 2021. I feel like together, collaboratively, Ashley and I have made a lot of great changes at the town clerk's office, and in the next term, looking to keep on improving what we can, bringing customer service to all of you folks. And, I can say that when I ran for this in 2021, I didn't do it solely for a 3-year term. Really kind of looked at this as a career. So that was the main reason why I'm running for re-election, is to keep on doing what we've been doing the last 3 years.
Do we have all of our non-selected candidates? Great. Okay, folks, the next portion of the night. Yes, I can. Can we go up the volume a little? focused on the candidates running for selectmen. And when we're done with that portion, we're going to be here talking at the table. At the end of that, there'll be an opportunity for people in the audience to also ask the candidates questions. And those participating are asked to maintain the following decorum. Allow all the candidates to participate and speak. Try not to talk over the others. Please keep your answers concise and to the point. Maintain a congenial atmosphere between the candidates, and please, no personal criticism of candidates by other candidates or by the audience. That will not be allowed. The third and final portion of the evening will be the audience asking questions, and we'll go over the details of that when we come to that part. The first question I want to just put out on the table for tonight is, what do you as candidates believe?
Are we supposed to introduce ourselves first?
I'm sorry. Pardon me. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me go around the table and go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sorry. My name is Jay Ward, and I'm a candidate for selectman. I live at 16 Houghton Point on Wilson Pond. When I retired, I decided I wanted to contribute to my town community. I started, much as Mark did, by getting involved trying to prevent a large development being placed on Route 32, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot by going to a lot of zoning board meetings and planning board meetings. I learned how developments are proposed and approved in the town. I was ignorant when I started. I knew a lot more after I was done. I joined the Conservation Commission, and I'm now an alternate on the zoning board. And I also learned a lot of how the town works by going to a lot of committees and boards, including the select board, over the last few years. I also am an active member of the Wilson Pond Association, and this fall I started volunteering with the High School Interact Club, where I'm continually amazed by how committed these teenagers are to community service. When Ken Colby decided not to run for re-election, I was urged by members of the boards to run for his position. I see this as more service to my community. Most of the work that the select board does is administrative, and I have considerable experience in positions of organizational responsibility. This is a wonderful town, and there are a lot of wonderful people in it, a lot of nice people in it. And I learned this from going around town and trying to meet as many people and listen to as many people as I could about what they wanted for the town and what they wanted to see in a selectman. I want to balance the need to preserve the natural resources and beauty of this town with the need for reasonable, responsible growth and development and necessary upgrades to facilities without raising taxes too much. Now, I think that's not an impossible task, and I look forward to tonight's questions. Thank you.
My name is Mark Lavelle. I've lived in town my entire life. I have always done community service, either to my country or to the town. I went in the Air Force for 8.5 years. After getting back from the Air Force, I got hired full-time as a police officer in town. Just retired in December of 2023 after 27 total years. I want to continue to serve my town. I grew up here. I don't want to see it change drastically, but we do need to progress along with change. Change is inevitable, and I'm a big person in accountability. I think people need to be held accountable, and unfortunately, I think that a lot of times people aren't, and people run amok, and I just want to be able to serve my town and look forward to working with everybody in the town.
Good evening. My name is Mike York, and like Mark, I'm a longtime resident of Swanzey. I moved to Swanzey in 1952 on December 12th. I, too, served our country as a Vietnam vet with the Marines. When I get out, I come back and move back to Swanzey with my family to raise it. I've been involved in Swanzey since that time. At that time, because I was working full-time and going to school, I did do some youth coaching. When I finally retired here a few years ago, I decided to get involved in the town politics. I've been on the planning board for 8 years. This last year I served on the Capital Investment Committee. So I went to almost every select board meeting in the last 4 or 5 years. So I understand what's going on in town. My whole thing about the growth in the town is we, the people in the town, should decide on how our town grows, not the state, not in Concord. I recently went to testify for the Constitutional Amendment 16, which would return more control to the town on our zoning and site plan regulations. As I explained to the committee up there, yes, legally they voted down a lot of the legislation that would increase the densities in town and take power away from the local planning board and zoning boards and the select boards. They're not always going to be there. What if the this legislator comes in and decides that they want to put the screws to us? Because remember, we are not a home rule state. We are a Dillon's rule state, which means the state has control over what we do. They're asking this selectmen right now that they only have certain things they're allowed to do. Same with the planning board, same with the ZBA. My whole focus for the last few years has been to return local control to us. We are going to grow. We're going to have to. There's a lot of projects coming up that we need to look into and invest in. But it's up to us to do it, not Congress. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Thorne. I, like some of the others here, grew up here in town. I was born in Keene, so I spent my entire life here until I was in my early 30s. Moved away over to the Concord area and just recently moved back after about 27 years. Bought my retirement home here. And what a shock to leave for that much time and then come back. So many things have changed. Some for the better, some not, in my opinion. I'm currently on the zoning board, and I'm not retired. I work full-time for the State Police Criminal Records Unit. But I do have my evenings and weekends, and I enjoy being on the zoning board. I'm on the zoning board now. And I would really like to be more involved in where the town is headed. Because like I say, having been gone so long and then come back, just to see so many things that have changed, some of it's very upsetting to me. That's about it. I would like to see more children's programs. I was very active in a lot of children's programs while I was away. I was in a Girl Scout leader and a 4-H leader, and it doesn't seem like we have a whole lot for some of the little tykes. So I'd like to see some more of that brought in, but that's where I'm headed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Charlie Harbeck. I retired 5 years ago. A lot of people know me from Swanzey Recycle. I love the town, and I would like to keep it the way it is, maybe more development on Route 10. Thank you.
Hi, I'm going to stand up because I'm having a hard time sitting talking, but can everybody hear me? Hi, I'm Jimmy Tempesta. I've been living in Swansea for about 30 years. I thank you for all coming. This is wonderful to see this kind of crowd, and that's one of the main things that I want to see is the members of the community showing up for board meetings and stuff like that. I think this is positive. Right here is what we see tonight. I don't think we've ever seen 7 people run for this position, and I don't know how many years, as far as back as I could see, that no one has. I'm going to try to be real quick here, but I want you to get to know who I am. I started a co-op back 20 years ago. I've been the president of a park that has 117 homes in it. There's a gentleman here that served on the board with me tonight. 20 years ago, I received this park, and they made me the president. We had no money. We had oil tanks underground. We had no water system. We had no septic systems that were dry wells. We had pine trees that covered the whole area. And all these things we had no money for. And slowly I made goals and I worked them all out. Right now, we have no oil tanks. We have a beautiful pavilion. I've got a $2 million water system I put in that park. Septic systems, 70% of the septic systems are all new. We have a large bank account now. I made it safe. When I first got there, the police department was in there 3 times a week, 4 times a week. We're lucky I can count on one hand when the police department have to come in. This is a place, a community that I brought and I built up for the town of Swanzey. It pays a lot of taxes for this town. We easily give over $100,000 in taxes. And I don't ask the town to plow our roads, to service our water, to bring us anything. We're our own community. So what I'm trying to get to is, I feel that a selectman is leadership. And I feel I am a good leader. I mean, I didn't do this by any means by myself, and I'm not sitting up here bragging. I did it with a team. 7 people on the board, which I think that's where we're making a mistake in Swansea. I think 3 of these people here should be on the select board. I think the more minds at this are better. Towns our size have much more than 3 selectmen, but that's something to be said. What I feel is the leadership part of this is where I think a selectman's job, how I look at it, is seeing all the moving parts of the town, getting to know all the heads and the team. I consider this and all these people in this town running as a team, and I think you need a good leader to make sure everybody's happy and everybody gets what they need in their team. And I know I'm running out of time and I'm going too far with this, but I also started with a little tiny restaurant. My wife waitress, I cooked. And then I moved up and moved up. For 30 years, my name's been around. I have a large restaurant now. I have people that work for me, 40 employees that work for me, and they've all been with me for over 20 years. That has to tell you something, that I know how to lead and I know how to direct people to make things happen. I'm a guy that tries to make things happen. That being said, you know, if you give me a chance, there's one thing that I will promise people, if you all give me one chance at this, is that when I make a vote or I make a decision, I will make it in the best interest of the town of Swansea and the members of the people that live in this town. I will make sure of that. I thank you for all the time. Thank you.
Thank you for all of the candidates and for introducing yourself. We welcome you and thank you for taking the time to be here for this, and we hope that you can enjoy yourselves tonight as we have some of the questions and conversation back and forth. There will be times when the conversation will change course or evolve, and that's okay. If we get too far off course, Eileen or I will let you guys know that we need to get it back on track. Once again, thanks for being here and for participating. So I guess the first question I want to throw on the table tonight is, what do you as candidates personally believe are important qualifications and qualities for a person who's going to be a selectman?
Well, Chairman, I think it's leadership. I think it's making sure that everybody...
Could you please identify who's speaking each time and not just give your answers, but say, repeat your name.
Go ahead.
I apologize. I'm James Tempesta.
Okay, hold on just a second. So, are we having trouble hearing?
Yes.
I think there's a problem if you go with the volume too high, we get feedback. So there is a seat up here if you want to move up closer. You might be able to hear. And we're going to have interaction with the audience after. Right now, we got to stay on track with the candidates.
But they need to identify themselves each time.
Okay. That's up to them. All right, go ahead, Jim. Well, I'm sorry, you got interrupted.
Yeah, to go back to it, you asked the question, what a selectman is. I think a selectman is the guy that should go around and meet the librarian, meet all the heads of department, to make sure everything's running good, all the moving parts of the town. I think the person that runs it should be the guy that oversees everything, and I think that's what the voters want out of selectmen. That's how I feel.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well,
Mark LaBelle, I believe that integrity is important, accountability, and I agree. The selectmen should go and visit all the departments, at least quarterly, to make sure that they understand what's going on. When you have a meeting with the department head and the the employees, they may not be as forthcoming as they would be if they were by themselves. So I think that would be one thing that, to get out and actually meet the people in town so that they know who you are, so they can feel comfortable coming and speaking to you.
Anyone else?
Mike York, I agree with these two gentlemen, but there's a way to do that. There's a method to do it. And you have to talk to the people by themselves and then talk to their leaders. Okay? And you have to dissect things. You have to analyze things. You can't get one side of the story. You have to get all sides of the story. To be an effective leader, you also have to listen, listen, listen. You should listen more than you speak. And then, as only one member of the select board, you need to bring that information back to the other two select boards. So you can, is there a way, a path that we can solve this issue?
Thank you.
Jay Ward, I agree with everyone so far, and I think I need to emphasize again what Mike said, is listening is very, very important. The more people the selectmen listen to, the better they make decisions. It's also important for selectmen to encourage people to talk to them, and we have a problem right now where very few people show up to select board meetings, and we need to come up with a way to get more people to show up. The only way the select people can represent this town effectively is if we get people talking to us, and we've got to figure out a way to do that.
Okay, two things before I'll come back to you. Josh, if there's any way to bring the volume up without the feedback, we have some folks that can't hear, and candidates, if you could speak up just a little bit more so the mic picks you up. Are you hearing any better now? Not much. So if there's anything we can do, Josh, on that, that would be great. Sorry, go ahead.
Lisa Thorne, I was just going to say, I absolutely agree. Participation is what's key. If we can get more people at the planning board meetings, zoning board meetings, and the selectmen's meetings, that's what we need. We need to hear what the people want.
Okay, I'm going to move on to, can you describe how the select board can play a role in building consensus with voters who have diverse views and opinions for the future of the town? So what's a role that the selectmen can play to build that consensus?
Mark LaBelle, I believe that, again, if you out and meet the people and hear both sides, don't go in with a closed mind, go in there and speak to everybody involved to hear their side of the story, and then come up to an agreement between, it's always going to be a give and take, and so if you go and talk to everybody and make sure that you get both sides of the story instead of just going in with a closed mind, the consensus, and take something out of the middle, out of what's decided.
Do you have anything you want to add to that?
No.
Okay.
Not the same.
Recently, there's been concern raised both on social media and in general by residents and voters regarding the rapid growth and development of the town. The current estimated population of the town is 7,427. We can argue that, but that's roughly what it is. In the past 12 months, approximately 500 additional housing units have been approved, are under construction, or completed. Other significant commercial and public buildings are also under construction or planned for the next 12 to 24 months. Do you believe the existing town services, including police, fire, public works, solid waste, the town hall, are adequate to meet the expected growth we're experiencing?
Mike York, planning board. I was on the planning board for each and one of those. And I know people criticize us a lot. I said, why didn't you stop that? For the selectmen, why didn't you stop it? There is a process that you have to go through. We have RSAs we have to follow. We have zoning laws we have to follow. And we have site plan regulations we have to follow. Okay? Now, if people get more involved, like the people in North Swanzey did, we have wrote 12 amendments that should help that growth issue and stop increasing our density so that we can pick up on the police and the fire and make sure we're adequate in those places. But we can't stop growth totally. We just got to make sure that we pass this constitutional amendment 16, which gives us more power so that the legislature can't write rules Because right now, they are actually writing rules to increase the density everywhere. Because the cities of Portsmouth and Keene, they're saying, Swansea, Bedford, all you've got to have more housing in your area to service us.
Anyone else?
Jay Ward, this is an issue that I also was involved in through many meetings with the Planning and Zoning Board. In fact, I'm one of the people who brought the initial proposal to the Planning Board for these amendments that the Planning Board improved for the ballot this March. Zoning is how we control development in Swansea, and the way that happens is that the Planning Board has to write proposals that go on the warrant that get voted in by the voters. The selectmen don't have a direct role in doing that, but the way in which we can control that is to make sure that citizens participate in that process. And you can do that by going to the planning board, proposing changes to the zoning amendments, as has happened this year, and getting them passed in the town. The town voters have the ultimate responsibility to set the zoning rules. And so what we've got is what allowed, the zoning rules we have is what allowed these things to be built. And all the departments in town, the police, the fire department, et cetera, signed off on these developments saying it was okay. So there was a process where the departments had a chance to weigh in. We're all a little skeptical about what it means in totality to have this much population change, and the rapid pace is very, very disconcerting to a lot of us. But the process has worked so far. If we want to stop it, we have to change the way the rules are set. And the only ones who can do that are us through the planning board and then elections.
Mark LaBelle, I think the question was more of, are we going to need more police, more fire? And yes. Right now, there's 12 police officers in the town of Swansea that work, and only 11 of them are full-time. We have a part-time lieutenant, which should go back to full-time. We have a school resource officer who used to be a patrolman, but now we have a school resource officer in the school, and instead of filling that position with another patrolman, the police chief decided that our office manager needed a full-time assistant. So in order to get somebody full-time, she got his benefits that would have covered for a police officer. So we get the school resource officer back during the summer for like 2 months. During the school year, the school pays for the school resource officer. For that 2 months, the town gets the officer back. But at this point right now, you have officers working by themselves, like the day shift. The officer works by himself, generally speaking. On Tuesdays, there's usually 2 officers, but generally speaking, there's only one. The chief doesn't usually answer calls. We get more mutual aid from people from other towns coming in to back up our day shift. So yes, we need more officers now. Never even mind that there's going to be more people, which is then going to raise calls and so forth. And obviously the fire department's going to increase as well because more people, more medical calls. There's just no way around it.
My only concern, Charlie Harback, my concern is there's no fire departments on the other side on Route 10. To get over there, they got to go all the way down to that other bridge. I mean, people's houses can burn down.
So, clearly there's going to be a larger demand for service.
Right.
And we're at the level that we're at now. So really this question is, can we handle at the level that we're at now with what we're anticipating for growth? That's, it's hard to, who knows, right? But there's definitely going to be an increase in demand, right?
Seems to me, it's more than obvious from just hearing, Mark is an ex-police officer and Jay Ward here. I mean, it's more than obvious. These are large issues. And this is why I'm going to go back to, we need more help, we need more people, we need to pull more people involved, and I'll still go back to the issue where I think we should have more people on the select board. And I think we need to get things done. I think we need to, Jay explained how we can change these things clear. We need the people. We need the zoning boards changed then. We need what we need. So we got to get it done. That's the thing. We can't sit around this table like this and just talk about it. We need to get up, roll up our sleeves, and get in there and go at it. That's how I feel.
Okay, we're going to move on.
Really?
Anyone else before we move on?
want to talk about this anymore. Recently, about 75 voters attended the 2024 deliberative session, and you've all seen the warrant articles that passed. The warrant articles 3 through 12 all passed by a majority vote. The town's portion of the tax rate is 28.1%, education 58.4%, county government 13.5%. In 2024, the town plans to update property assessments by conducting a revaluation. Using the 2023 tax rate estimates, the current tax rate is approximately 27 per thousand. So I just want to look at some of the articles that are in the warrant this year and just talk about those for a few minutes. So Article 3 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $4,500,000 for the purpose of preparing plans and specifications, constructing, equipping, and furnishing the fire station. This is, I think, the 6th attempt for the fire station, and it should be noted that there's funding that will come from other sources besides taxation, but it's a bond for $4 million that would take a 3/5 vote to pass. And I guess my question is, do you believe, as candidates, that 2024 is the year for the fire station? Did they finally get it right?
Well, let's go back to 6 years. 6 years ago, we could have had a giant building at $2 million. Now we're at $5 million at a quarter of the building. The longer we wait, we're going to end up with a metal building for $10 million. It's inevitable that we're going to need something, am I right? We're all talking about growth. We're all talking about we don't have the services. So either we face the facts that, you know, one of these years we're going to have to put the fire department in, whether it's this year or next year. But the cards are out there. I mean, it's just, we have to have it. We're not going to go another 5 years without it, I can tell you that.
Jay Ward, I agree with Jimmy. I think the other issue is that where the fire department is right now in Town Hall, which is leaking. The fumes from the fire trucks go up to the workers' spaces upstairs. The Town Hall itself needs renovation. The fire trucks can't stay in Town Hall much longer. They got to go somewhere. And it's getting to be a real need. The Town Hall needs renovation. The fire trucks need to go. It all seems to come together. It's time for us to get a new place for those fire trucks to be. The longer we put it off, the more expensive it's going to be and the more difficult it's going to be for future taxes. I think if the fire station doesn't pass this year, it's going to make it very difficult for the selectmen to make the kind of decisions that are necessary for the fire department. There's just no way around it. And I think, if I remember from talking to people, there's some concern over the way in which the site for the fire station was chosen and so on. It's kind of an issue which is overcome by the real need we have right now for another station. And so I would urge us all in this room to vote for the fire station in March.
I would agree with that, because what you're going to look for in the future, it's like Jimmy was pointing out, it's going to get more expensive as the years go on because of inflation. Inflation is not going to slow down. If we could get it back down to 2%, that would be great. Okay? But the more time, it's the same thing with the school we just approved. That school would have been a lot cheaper if we'd have done that years ago when it was first proposed. Inflation is a big factor in all this.
Anyone else want to weigh in? Lisa?
Lisa Thorne. I do not think that the current site is the appropriate spot for a new fire station. And I also think that before we spend $5 million on a new station, we should look into the buildings that we have, that the town already owns, and let's put some thought into renovating some of those. We're going to have an empty Cutler School very soon. What's going to go into Cutler School? Could a station be built over there? Could the town offices be moved over to Cutler School and the current fire station expanded in Swanzey Center? What about where the Title I school is? Will they stay there? Will their offices move? Will that building be empty? Maybe we could put our fire station over there. that would certainly serve the Route 10 area a whole lot better than up on Route 32 would. So, in my opinion, I think the voters have spoken in the last 6 years that they don't want that new station in that spot, or they don't want to spend this kind of money on that station. I'm not saying it's not inevitable. I do agree that it is inevitable. I don't think that's the right location. I think we need to look at what we already own first.
Anyone else? Mark?
Mark LaBelle, I agree. The fire department definitely needs a new fire station. I was a member of Swanzey Center for 35 years. I agree with Lisa, though, the location that they want to put it isn't a good location. It's not, that hill is not a safe intersection to even try and pull out of. I would, to be honest, I'd like to see the potash bowl. It's not historic anymore. It burnt down way back in the 80s. I would rather see that building get knocked down and build the fire station there. It gets used 6 times a year. We can certainly build a pavilion over at Brown Field and have the concerts that they have there 6 times a year for a lot less money.
Do you believe the proposed facility plan, as it's proposed, meets the needs of the department and the town now, the size that it is and things like that, and the design? You mentioned that it was smaller than it was originally planned, but, I mean, you've seen the plans, I'm sure. Do you think it meets the needs as it's designed?
Jay Ward, yes, I do. I think it has been scaled down, but it has the necessary spaces for the fire department. I just want to add, and continue our discussion earlier, one of the reasons the site where it's proposed to be right now appeals to me is that it's easy to get city water to that site, and the fire department is going to need a lot of water rather than taking it from wells, taking it from the city water system that can be extended down Route 32. It makes it better. And also, the maybe 1,000 people that are going to be added to the town, a great many of them are going to be in North Swansea. So that location actually puts it closer to the high-rise buildings in North Swansea that are going to need the services. So those are reasons for that site. I understand we want to save money, but let's look at the needs of the town in total. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Can I just add, I just see now, I just realized that there is other options, and as me as just living in Swansea and I'm busy, but to the members of the community of Swansea had all these options out there, maybe we need to look at all these options. Who picked the location for the fire department in the first place? Where did that come from? Where did that location come from? Do you know, Jay?
Other people were here.
Yeah,
that Michael can speak to.
By the selectmen, they went out looking for an angle, and they had to approve it because we bought that property.
Yeah.
Because it came for sale and commercial property. And I would go on to say, now Lisa was talking about doing the Cutler School.
Yeah.
The fire station that wouldn't work, you already got one right here. So why are you going to have 3 stations in the same part of town? You want that one over at Swansea Center somewhere. And I do agree with Mark, having gone to school bus for a while, that is probably a location that's very difficult for traffic to see coming out. It would require us asking the state to put lights up there so that when the firemen are going out, they stop the traffic. It would have to be done, in my opinion.
Great. Thank you.
One more.
Sure.
Sorry.
It's fine.
I would think it would be very valuable to turn it over to the voters, give them some options. Okay, if we do a fire station up there on the current lot as proposed, we know it's $5 million. If we do a fire station somewhere else, what's that dollar amount? What if we put it over here? What's that dollar amount? And how will that impact us? I think we need to put that out to the voters and get their feedback.
The problem there is we might be just too late. It's out there. We're going to vote on it. We lose the vote, I shouldn't say lose, the vote comes through the fire station with the fire station. I think these things should have been attacked a long time ago. I think these options should have been out for the community, and we should have put it out there whatever way we had and say, listen, let's hear some people. And I think there's where we have problems again.
Yep, I agree.
I could make one more.
Yeah, then we'll move on to...
all those selectmen board meetings when they decided this. The sad thing is, when I went to those meetings, I was the only person there other than maybe the fire chief and somebody else.
That's the problem.
That's a problem. It's very easy to find out what the selectmen are doing and when they're doing it because it's on the site. Same with the planning board and the ZBA. You're not showing up for something and complaining later is not going to get the job done.
I agree. Thanks. I'm going to move on to Article 4, which is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,110,000 to reconstruct North Winchester Street and the portion of California Street east of Route 10. Okay. And do you support the warrant article to complete the work on North Winchester end of California Street?
Yes, I do. Mike York again. This went through the planning board. The government doesn't have to come in and do a planning board. They always do. This is a grant. We're getting a grant for this. Okay? So it's not going to cost the local taxpayers a lot of money. And there's a lot of roads in Swanzey that need to be redone. My road up on Old Lady Farm Road is probably going to be a long time before it gets done. But right now, our mixed mud season is going into place. I vote for that, even though it's not my neighborhood, but my neighbors need a safe road to travel also. And since it's grant money that we're doing this with, I would support it.
Jay Ward, I think it's important for the town to, every year, make some improvements to the roads in town. And so I think that we should incrementally do a little bit every year so that we keep up with the needs of the town. And so I support this also.
Lisa Thorne, I also support the warrant article.
Okay. Article 12 is to see if the town will establish an expendable trust fund pursuant to RSA 3119, titled Ambulance Expendable Trust Fund, for the purpose of funding expense related to providing ambulance service, to raise and appropriate the sum of $40,000 to be placed in a fund, with such sum to be raised from the fund balance, basically. How do you feel about that?
Jay Ward, I'm for it. I think that this is from hearing the selectmen speak about this is because in 2 or 3 years, our present contract for EMS services is going to expire, and we're not certain that we're going to get as good a deal as we got this last time. So we need to put some money aside to help the transition to a new deal down the pike. So putting aside a little bit every year into one of these capital reserve funds means that we will have some money to help with the transition to another EMS service contract, whichever it may be. It might be with the same people. It might be back with some of the people who've done it for us before. But we need to plan ahead. So this is a plan ahead article.
Just a little background on this. In May of 2023, Deluzio Ambulance Service closed, and in July, the selectmen negotiated with Cheshire County to provide EMS and transport for the town for basically ambulance service. And the way it's negotiated is it's $46,000, $67,000, and in the final year it's $81,548, rough figures. The second option the town considered was rescuing the Brattleboro for a fee of $300,000 annually. Because the article is funded from the undesignated fund, there's no direct tax impact. But Cheshire County, when they launched this ambulance service, the project was initially funded through grants through the American Rescue Plan Act. The grants included, $2.4 million to purchase the land, build the building, and then there was $1.7 million for the vehicles. So how can Swanzey be proactive to ensure quality ambulance service for an affordable price for taxpayers? Is this going to work, or is it a wait and see? Or
as a member of the capital investment program, we have to do these sort of things for the ambulance service and other things that got coming up, because we've got about 2 years, and then we've got some hard decisions to make on capital investments. We don't want to get caught with our pants down, so to speak, because we don't have any funds at all when the county is just as expensive as the private people that are out there. So we want to be flexible so we can pivot to the way we need to go, because we got to have ambulance service. We have a large elderly population, plus we have everybody in town may need an ambulance sooner or later. So we got to have that flexibility to make a good decision.
anyone else?
Unfortunately, I can't add to this right now because I don't have enough information.
How about what aspects of an EMS system are important to you and your constituents? That
what do you think is important for the town to have for an EMS system?
Mark, well, I think that maybe, somehow the fire department needs to recruit more people. The numbers have drastically fallen, whether it's because of leadership or whatever, the whole thing that Chief Gould had to go through. I wasn't part of that, so I don't know the ins and outs, but they probably need, and I know they're in the process of now hiring a new fire chief. Hopefully he can bring everybody together and they'll generate new members, because unfortunately a lot of people don't respond. People have their own full-time jobs, and in order to go, they might have been out all night and still have to go to work. So probably the chief is the one that needs to start and bring everybody together and try and recruit people. Unfortunately, not a lot of people want to be firefighters anymore.
Yep, go ahead, Mike.
Mike York again. Yes, and Mark was right. But the fire department, remember, is the most expensive department to run in town. Your fire trucks run up to $700,000. These ambulances run pretty close. So we need flexibility. Are we going to go full-time fire? Maybe someday we'll have to. But if you wanted to have a town-run ambulance service, you got to do it 24/7. That's expensive.
Yeah, Jay Ward. Yeah, I think the decision has been to hire out the ambulance service with Cheshire EMS and rely less on the fire department for some of the reasons that Mark talked about, but also purely it's money, and we need to have the resources to pivot, as Mike said, and choose the best service coming through. I think what's most important is that the ambulance service be available and reliable, and we know exactly what the cost of it is year by year.
Okay. According to the Census Bureau, residents in Swansea birth to 24 make up about 21% of the population. 25 to 54 makes up 31% of the population, and 55 to 85 years old makes up 47.52% of the population. It's the biggest group. Are there adequate services in place to meet the social and cultural needs of this population?
I would say it's inadequate at this time. That makes the ambulance service even more important, because as elderly people, senior people, we tend to need the ambulance more often than the younger people do. There is no real, like a senior center like you have in Keene, which is one thing that we need to look at. Is when we get Cutler School, and if we decide to buy it back, that could be the source of a senior center, because it has an all-purpose room and they can do their exercises in the middle of winter, and it could serve a lot of purposes.
Yes, Jay Ward, I agree. I think that we are underserved in some of those services, and we need to look at options. I know that there's partly a Homer question, because the Swanzey Preservation Society and the Grange Society are pushing Coffee Connections tonight, and Coffee Connections is primarily designed for seniors to meet in the Grange and have social life and so on, and it's very important for seniors to have a place to gather. And as we look at places in town for that to happen, the Grange is one place, Cutler School is another place, but we need to keep looking at places like that to provide services. And that may even involve the recreation department in terms of some ways in which to participate with seniors. So.
Oh, no, sorry. Anyone else? Okay. When this goes along with the amendment to Article 8 on the ballot was an expenditure to replace the failing roof and rebuild the windows and take care of some water infiltration at the Grange. Do you support the continued use of the Grange Hall as a community center and meeting space for seniors?
Mark LaBelle, yes, I do. I think it's important to maintain our history. The fact that the building is an historical landmark, it should be maintained. Back to the reason why I don't have an issue with the potash bowl getting knocked down, because it's not historical anymore. It's a concrete building, so I do support it.
Yeah. I think we have to put a few dollars into it to even get to apply for grants, because if they don't see where it's maintaining it, we ain't going to have a chance in any grants. I honestly don't see the town coming up with $1 million for it, but I do see the opportunity for grants would be great.
Jay Ward, I support this also. I think that what we're asking for here is a way to preserve the options for the Grange so that we can apply for grants. I do not support the town spending $1 million to rebuild the building, but I hope that by doing this, we can apply for grants, improve the programming that's going on there right away so it's more attractive for grants, perhaps get some matching funds for this $110,000 that was added in there, that we jumpstart the donations that might come to this building so that it can be built through funds that are donated and granted to us for the purpose of having a senior center, a historical building in that area where we have many historical buildings, and preserving some of the history of Swanzey.
I also, Mike York, would agree that we need to save this building. Right now in town, if you want to do Wickham Hall for a nonprofit organization, it's very expensive. I know they're starting to look at some kind of funding where we don't have to pay as much, but the Grange could serve as a meeting place for all these different nonprofit groups that need a place to meet. They can't afford a large bill when they do it. I also would encourage everybody to go to the coffee connections when they start them up again. I had a wonderful time talking to these people, and they're doing their best. They're working very hard to make this building come back to life.
Lisa Thorne, I also support this. Recently, I went in and had a tour of the Grange building, and for anyone who's never been in there, I encourage you to go inside. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful, and you can't appreciate it till you go in and look at it. So I do support it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I agree, too.
Okay. At the deliberative session, a voter made a motion to reduce Article 9 for the Highway and Cemetery Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, but that amendment was defeated and the article was fully funded. The question is, with the amount of damage from the storm in 23 and the public works road improvement projects already planned, do you support the current scale of funding for public works and capital improvement projects? Or are we not doing enough? Do we need to do more? I mean, that amendment kind of brought that to light that night, that, there's a lot of roads in Swansea. I don't know how many miles, 45?
Well, there's 45
square miles of town.
That's just the area encompassed. It's got one of the largest road systems in the county, the state. And road maintenance and road repair is very expensive, and those guys work really hard. So we looked at that very hard at the capital improvement program, listened to Joe Russo, the public works director, and went with what he was looking for. Now, there's other things coming up. Instead of buying a brand new grader, because I was getting the end of the service, he's looking at a used grader. He's trying to save the town money while still doing the job that we need to get done.
But to answer your question, I think we definitely have to look at that deeply. I wasn't aware of it until that night, like you said, and I think Bill came up with a great idea of moving that money from somewhere else, and I was very concerned when I heard somebody get up and say, let's take it from the roads as quick as he did, and how fast it could have been out $100,000 off the roads. I thought it was a risky decision.
Jay Ward, I think that all of our fingers are crossed that we don't have another summer with a big rainstorm like we had last summer.
Right.
And to even think about cutting back and the money available for the DPW is foolish. I'm worried that it's not enough, but it certainly seems to be enough on paper right now. And I think that it's going to continue to be one of the areas in which the town needs to invest in the upkeep of our roads. We need to think about ways we can be proactive and prevent flood damage, in fact, rather than just fix what's broken.
Okay. The third and final portion of tonight, this evening, will be a time for you, the audience, to ask questions. I'm sure we missed a lot of things that you're thinking, why didn't they ask about this or that? So now's the time to do it. You're asked to, if you have a question, to move to one of the two mics and wait to be recognized by the moderator. Once you've been recognized, state your name and address and ask your question. We then ask you to you can ask a specific candidate a question, or you can ask the group a question. All the candidates, the length of time allowed for audience questions will be basically however long you want to stay here and ask questions. But after you ask your question, we just ask that you return to your seat. And we don't want to have a running debate with the candidates. So basically, ask your question, go back to your seat. There'll be no running debate, multi-tiered or multiple questions permitted. All the rules of the decorum previously mentioned will be followed, and the audience members asking a question for the first time will be given preference over audience members who are asking a question for the second time. We'll try and keep track of that. I don't know if we can. Follow-up questions and subsequent questions require audience member to return to the mic if you don't mind, and the moderator will have the final say on issues of debate and decorum. And so at this time, if you have questions, now would be a great time to move to the microphone. Right up here to the microphone. Or we can bring it to you if you can't. Oh.
Yes, sir. I'm going to make a statement here as well as ask a question. My name is Carol DeRocher. I was your town clerk here for 21 years, from 1985 to 2006, when I finally retired. And some of my points are, when we were working there in the town clerk's office, we had a carbon monoxide problem. We asked the fire department to come and check it. They did, and they denied that there was anything wrong. Now all of a sudden it's mandatory. They've got to get those trucks out of there. It all will also was determined long ago by a selectman and a school board member that the Wilcox School would eventually be turned back to the town for the use of a fire station. I want to know why that hasn't been addressed. And have you even asked the school board what they're going to do with these empty school buildings once the kids are out of them?
Okay.
Are they shifting things around? But I think it's important that you do look at what we have. These buildings have been sitting there for years, some of them just deteriorating. We need to look at them.
Thank you. Just remind the audience, just one question, and then we'll have a chance to come back to the mic and ask us another question. So I think the question here is about the carbon monoxide problem caused by the fire station, which we've talked about a little bit earlier. If you want to answer that question, feel free.
Yeah, I think it's very important that we move that fire station out of there for that one reason. The health of our people, our staff in the town hall is very important. Okay, so we need to get the fire department out of there for a lot of reasons, and that's a top reason. I remember those days. I was on the police department back then, and it came into the police because as people around know, that was the police station also, right where the Mike Brandon's office is.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to open the doors to nothing, but in my understanding, the last fire chief tried to do that. Am I correct? Does anybody dispute that? That it was brought to and he made a really strong issue about that it was unsafe, and that it was not the right thing to do, and I think nothing was done about it.
That's why we've been pushing all those years to try to get a new fire station.
Well, just keep in mind that there is Article 3 for the fire station this year, which would, in effect, address her concerns about the carbon monoxide in the building. So,
well, and it goes to show you that, did you hear what she said? How long ago have we dealt with this problem? This is what I'm saying. We got to get things, we can't push things under the rug. That should have been taken care of 15 years ago, to me.
Yep, and the longer we wait, the more it will cost.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm Richard Scaramilli from East Swansea, and I thank the Preservation Society and Chief Swanzey for your part in bringing all of us together and enabling these questions to take place. I thank you very much, and thank the candidates for putting themselves forward to confront the issues as well as meet the voters. My question is as follows. I'd like to zoom out a little bit since we have selectmen candidates before us and ask, we've mentioned that the town's population is about 7,500, 7,600. It's been under 8,000 for years, for at least 2 decades. I mean, it's always been under 8,000, but it's been about 7,500 for quite some time. I would ask one question is, do you have an idea of what is right-sized for the town of Swansea? As selectmen, you'll be taking the big picture as well as these narrow, focused pictures. For example, is 10,000 people a reasonable cap or not? I wonder if you can respond to that. And then a related question, I realize I'm not supposed to piggyback, but this is related. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What candidates have familiarized yourselves with the master plan? We are required to produce one every 10 years, and there have been several iterations of the master plan for Swansea. Have you read it and care to respond to it in light of my right sizing of the town of Swansea? Thank you.
Thanks for the question. So this is about capping. Is there a possibility of capping the population? And are you familiar with the master plan?
Well, as a planning board member, I helped write the last one, so.
What year was that?
21. About 2 or 3 years ago. 21. 21, could be that, yeah. In fact, I don't have it with me tonight, but I have one at home. And as far as capping, the population in town, the only way we possibly can do that is to reduce density, which we've tried to do with these amendments that we put forth to everyone. Okay? So the pressure from Concord and the state is to increase our density. Right now, Swansea has about 165 people per square mile. To put it in contrast, Keene has 610 or 15, something in that order. I don't want to see us go that high myself. I don't think we need to go much higher than, say, 200, 250,000 people per square mile.
Anyone else?
Well, by his numbers here, it shows that we have a lot of room for growth. And I feel that we can grow, but we have to grow in the right way. We have to grow and bring the right things to the community. As far as me, I see too many storage sheds going in Swansea and things like that. I think we need to grow, and maybe businesses come to Swansea. I think businesses would be important, and nice-looking buildings for the town of Swansea, instead of metal buildings all down Route 10. I think that takes down our town. I think if you keep going at this direction, it's terrible. But growth is good. Growth isn't bad, as long as we grow and we watch what we grow and how we do it.
Jay Ward, I'm really pleased that the new zoning regulations we'll vote on in March deny any further storage units coming into the town. There will be no more storage units in the business district if we vote the amendments in. It's important to realize that we're going to grow. It's important to realize that we can control that growth through smart activity. And as Michael said, we need to plan and we need to make sure that the growth goes in the right places. And I would say that most of the recent growth, I mean, we've added almost 500 units. Can we say that's going to be 1,000 people? We go from 7,500 to 8,500 all of a sudden. Does that mean that we're going to get more of these multifamily dwellings? Probably not, because the new zoning rules in North Swansea can be a model for how we might treat zoning in the other districts. In fact, the new zoning rules make multifamily dwellings much less likely in the business district on Route 10 and other places as well. So we're most likely going to have development in terms of small single-family, two-family houses or accessory dwelling units on lots. We're not likely to grow as fast but we probably will grow. And so where we decide we're going to allow housing will help control that. And as for the master plan, I've read it. Do I remember it? No. But one of the things I'd like to see the selectmen do is periodically call in each department in the town and ask them to respond to how they have been pursuing what's assigned to them in the master plan. The master plan assigns action steps to each department and commission and board in the town. And I would like to see, say, the board I'm on, the Conservation Commission, called before the selectmen and say, okay, what's your progress toward the master plan assignments that you've been given in the current master plan? Now, we don't have to, have our wrists slapped if we haven't got there, but we need to discuss what we've done and what we think is possible or what's not possible, so that when we come 10 years from 21, when we come to 31, we have to produce a new master plan, we have some idea what works, what has worked, what ideas we might have for the future. And I think that would be some leadership from the select board to do that.
Okay, sir. And you'll be next.
My name's Mark Johnson.
You'll be next to the gentleman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Excuse me, sir.
You'll be number 2.
Alan Groats, 209 South Road, right across the street from the East Swansea Fire Station. I'm interested in knowing, what have you done personally to prepare yourself for the job of selectman?
We just quickly go around the table, quickly,
Okay.
so we can get to his question.
As I said before, I've been on boards. I've tried to learn as much as I could. I've gone around and talked to former selectmen and other people were identified to me as former leaders in the town and asked them what they thought. A lot of it's participation and showing up, and some members of this table have also done the same thing. And I think that's the most important thing, is that we've learned by participating the way things work.
I've been an employee of the town for 36 years, and I just want to continue to serve the town. As far as being prepared, I kind of know how things run, having worked in a couple of departments, interacting with other departments. That's about it.
Mike?
I've been working for the past 8 years or so on the planning board. I've attended those. I've attended the ZBA, especially when something affected the planning board. I go to the selectmen board meetings for the last 5 years almost all the time, except for when there doesn't seem to be too much on there. Any large project, and some of the small projects, I'm there. I give my input to the selectmen. And I guess I'm disappointed somewhat is when I go, there's usually very few, there's many times I'm the only one there other than the selectmen. But the one thing I want you to know about the selectmen is that they'll listen to you. Okay? So my preparation is I'm actually working in the field.
Lisa.
Lisa Thorne. Since I've been back in town, I am now on the zoning board and out talking to as many people as I can. I think that's the important thing, is to get out there and talk to people. Even if it's as simple as sitting around Dunkin' Donuts and chatting. That's where you hear the real story. So that's how I've been prepared.
Charlie Larbeck. I worked for the town for the last 4 years. A lot of people at the yard say I should run, and I just enjoy working at the town.
I'm a guy that just ran my small community and my business, and I think what got me fired up is one thing I do depend on in my small community is the fire department, and I think we got large issues with the fire department. And I stepped up at the plate to defend the last fire chief, which we don't have a fire chief now, so that's what got the ball rolling with me. And to prepare myself, every night, at the end of my night in my restaurant, my son comes in my office and he puts on a town meeting on my TV. While my wife is doing the books, I watch a whole town meeting. And I probably watch 20 to 30 town meetings and planning board meetings. I'm the guy with common sense. I know I have a lot to learn, but I listen, and I'm smart enough to know what's right is right.
Thanks. Over to you.
My name is Mark Johnson. I live on Swanzey Lake Road, and that kind of threw me off from where you guys were. So I'd like to make kind of an observation and ask how this happened. With regard to all the storage sheds and all this type of growth in town, I guess that's probably a zoning and a planning board issue. I believe we had the FAA involved with cutting down trees along the runway a few years back with regards to instrumentation flight in inclement weather and dark, or so I guess that was it from a layman's guess. So now all of a sudden we've got a 50-foot, and trees are non-conductive. They don't conduct radio waves or electricity. Now we've got a 50-foot tall steel building at the end of the runway, which astounds me. Steel is a conductor. So if trees were going to be a bothersome issue for gauge-only flight or instrument-only flight, how is a steel building going to affect instrument-only flight? I don't know if that's a Keene issue or a Swanzey issue. How that built, pardon me?
Thank you.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I was going to ask, is how did this get passed? That's A. And B, in closing, I think the town blew it by not buying Johnson Tree. A dozen 14-foot door bays built. A communications tower existing. An office with a bay in it existing. All it would have been was pave a short road down to Eden Road, put a light there, it would have been done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I can address the FW Web project. First of all, it's not going to be more than 45 feet because that's the town zoning. Second, the town of Swansea nor the city of Keene has jurisdiction there on the height. That is purely the FAA. They're required to get a waiver from the FAA and get approval from them. That's any project that's within the cone of the radars for the landing of the planes.
Jay Ward, I think also, I think if I remember the plans correctly, it's a 30-foot high building, and I don't know how the FAA works, but they are the ones who mandated some of those other changes and approved this one apparently. I think that it's another example of perhaps if we'd had enough foresight to look at the zoning of that particular stretch of Route 32 and changed it a while ago, we wouldn't have this building there. And maybe they would have located in the industrial park, which might have been a better play for it. But because it was allowed, as an allowed use, it didn't even go to the zoning board, it went straight to the planning board. And the planning board, because it's a permitted use, had nothing to say except you got to get the permits, road cuts and FAA approval, and that's how it went through.
We good? Barbara Scully.
Barbara Scully, Spring Street, Swansea. I would like each candidate to answer the question as to whether you think Swansea should be taking initiatives to reduce our carbon footprint. And if you do, what are your thoughts as to how we might achieve that?
Let's go this way this time.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
It's a tough question. That's a lot. That's a lot to ask me. And, I feel right now is if the town did vote me in, I'd have a lot of issues before that, I would have to say. But I think it's a good cause. I think we have to look into things like that. I'm definitely not against it. But I think we have a lot on our plate first to conquer before we get there.
We do have a lot on our plate.
Yeah.
And being over there at Swanzey Recycle, I could really crack the whip over there, let me tell you.
I bet.
Because people do not want to recycle.
Lisa Thorne. The thing I can mostly focus on is recycling. Honestly, before I came back here, we didn't recycle. The town we were in, you just put your trash out by the street, it was paid for in your taxes, and they took it away. Oh, sorry. So I would say recycling, more focus on recycling.
Yeah, Mike York again. Recycling, like Lisa said, is very important. And we have a great recycling center down there. Charlie ought to be applied for the, I've talked to Charlie many times going through there. Those employees work hard down there. They should be applauded for what they do. There are, coming up on the planning board, we're looking into zoning for the solar farms and the like, so that electrical plug-ins for the electric cars, that's probably not something we regulate other than on a commercial basis. If new development going in like over on Stafford Road, it's up to them to put those in. If they have a need for it with their tenants, of course they're going to put them in.
I believe recycling as well would be able to help the carbon footprint. Also, I believe there is a warrant article this year for a solar thing, so if that goes through, that would help as well.
Yes, I was going to mention the solar array, which is supposed to provide power for the sewage plant, and there are another solar project that's going into town. I don't know how much the town would benefit from that, but having a solar array in town will help reduce the carbon footprint in the town. I think we can also look into what would it be like to use alternative fuels in some of the town vehicles, but some of the conversions for that can be very expensive as you convert from one vehicle to another. I think that in general, I'm not sure. I think your first step would be to do an audit, an ecological audit of the town, and find out where the areas are that we're using carbon. And once we do that, then we'll have a better idea of what we can do to bring it down. But we're a small town still for a little while longer, and I don't think right now our carbon footprint is huge compared to some of the other communities close by, like north of us.
Well, the whole state of New Hampshire is behind on that, as we know, as far as all the other states. State of New Hampshire is so far behind in solar and all that.
But we should be looking at it.
We don't hit, right. But we have a long way to go, the state of New Hampshire itself.
I'm going to recognize Mike Camarlo.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, it is.
Yep. I'm Mike Camarlo from West Swanzey. I lived here all my life. And I can remember when we voted at Whitman Hall. And in the last few years, our voting has been restricted because of snowstorms and crowded conditions. I would like these people to express their feeling toward having two polling places. One in Swansea Center, of course, and the other one here at Whitcomb Hall in West Swansea.
Okay, we'll go this way.
Oh, I could start now.
Sorry.
I don't have anything philosophically wrong with doing that. I think that the only issue would be that of expense. We have to staff both places. But if it means that more people will show up to vote, and the people in West Swansea would feel more empowered to vote because they don't have to drive as far to get to the school and so on, maybe that's a good idea. I think it's worth looking at. I'm not sure exactly, Mike, how I feel about that, but I don't think that it's wrong to have two precincts, especially as we grow. What if we get to be 10,000 or so? Maybe having two places to vote makes a lot of sense.
Mark LaBelle, I'm not opposed to it at all. But again, like Jay said, I think there's an issue with having an amount of people in order to staff the polling. I mean, people don't want to show up to regular meetings. I don't know how you're going to get them to show up to actually do a job. So I would be for it. I remember when we used to vote here, so I wouldn't be opposed to it either.
Yeah, Mike York again. I, like Mike, have been around here all our lives. I remember playing basketball with the Boy Scouts in this building. I would be for it as long as we can staff it. Get people volunteer for it. I, for one, would volunteer for my services that day. But you got to staff it, and then it'd be a great idea. It'd be a little bit hard to staff it, I think, right now, because they have somewhat of a difficult time at times staffing and voting now at the high school.
Lisa Thorne. Yep, I agree with all of these gentlemen. As long as we can staff it, I think it's a great idea.
Charlie Harbeck, yes. If the population gets that big, we are going to need it. Thank you.
I think this is the year. I think this is the year of more people showing up. I think, what do we get? 1,200 voters out of the 7,500 in average? Does anybody know that? I'm going to say 1,200.
Less than that.
I think Mike's idea could be a great idea. I think it might bring more people out even to vote. And this is what we're trying to get, right? Well, this is what we all talked about, getting the members involved. Anything that might lift the spirit of the town to get involved, I think that's our start. And I think to see 7 people around this table running for one position, I think that in itself should say something to the community. I mean, this is rare. I mean, Sly ran. No one ran against you, right, Sly, last time? Nobody ran against you. Bill had one man run against him. I mean, this is healthy. This is good stuff. This is positive stuff. And I think Mike has the right idea. Open up to voting, but get as many people involved as you can, you know, and that might show that we're looking for a big voting day. You know, that might bring people up.
We're going to need a couple of waters for the town clerks. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Steve Malone. I live around the corner on...
Can you speak right into the mic a little bit louder, sir?
There you go.
Steve Malone. I live around the corner in the Princeton properties on Route 10. We have commercial garbage pickup. There is no separation of recyclables and non-recyclables. Do you believe that commercial properties, commercial and residential properties, should be required to separate recyclable and non-recyclable?
Can we make this a lightning round, just kind of quick?
I'll quickly answer because I'm one of the guys. I'm the one that runs the park and my thing, and I have garbage picked up at everybody's door. Including we have the lowest rent in the state of New Hampshire. I still have a garbage man come to the door. And the problem is cost. You got to look at cost. You got to look at all different avenues of that. And that's what I'm doing right now. I think it is important. And I think I am one of the things that are on my agenda for that community is to learn how we can help do that. I think it's a good point. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, they should recycle. We sent out, at the yard, we sent out, I think it was 6,000 pounds of this last month. And then it gets recycled into something else. Otherwise, it goes to the landfill.
Absolutely, they should recycle.
I agree. I have a mule and donkey farm, and I recycle all the time.
Yes, they should recycle.
Yes, it should be recycling at all places in Swansea.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to thank each of you for giving your views tonight. I appreciate it. My name is Rich Bryant, fairly new in town, about 6 years. I sit back here as a retiree. I listen to the cost, and it really scares the hell out of me. You know, with unlimited budgets, we have an industrial park that, in the 6 years I've been here, that just sits idle. We're bringing no other revenue. How do you expect if 47 to 50% of this town is retirees to keep coming up with the cost? You know, we don't use the resources. We don't have kids in schools. And you're talking about reevaluation. That's your property taxes going up. So what I'm asking you is, what are you going to do to try to offset some of the costs to retirees that are on a limited budget to put these programs through? And I thank you again for your time.
And we don't have to go around the table. We can just have that conversation if you want to.
Jay Ward, I'll start. I'll just say that we can't lose sight of the fact that some of this rapid development that we've had is going to lead to more taxes, more tax money coming in. So these big developments, some of them will pay a little bit less because they're subsidized in some way. But the ones on Route 12 and the big one up near Nanotech are going to have a lot of taxes coming to the town once they're fully up and running. Also, the FW Webb place will pay taxes and things like that. So some of that tax money will help offset some of the taxes that residents have to pay. The other point is that when we do the reassessment this year, the reevaluation of properties, it may be your value of property goes up, but that means we're not necessarily going to take more money from you. The rate will go down so that you'll actually be paying we hope, less dollars, because the lower rate will mean we can still get what we need from the properties. So hopefully there's a way to take advantage of some of the development we've seen coming into Swansea, which will keep our taxes down. We have needs. We have fire trucks to buy. We have maybe more police and fire to hire. We've got things that we have to spend the money on, but some of that money should maybe be able to take some money off your taxes.
Anyone want to weigh in or get another question?
Yeah, I think Jay hit it right. We need investments as far as more business in town. FWM is going to be a positive. We're going to get good tax money from that. There'll be no additional kids because those people that have those jobs already live in the area. So their kids are going to the schools where they go to now. When we did the Finley project there on Safford Drive, they gave us a financial impact statement, which I look for on all of our larger projects, whether they're multifamily or such as FWM. There, they projected that we're going to get about $400,000 with property tax, sewage and water, and car registrations. Remember, when these things go in, they also have to register their cars, which is a tax. The town collects part of that tax.
We've got quite a few people lining up for questions. I don't mean to interrupt you, but let's just get a few more answers here.
Okay, just shortly. The other thing we looked at a little bit is impact fees, but right now I don't think the planning board wants to go that route. What a lot of people don't understand, the project over by Mike DeMarlo's, we actually got state money in it and $840,000. Anybody know? Was there anybody there where the selectmen put that out as a public hearing so that what are we going to do with the money? Nope, nobody was there.
Thank you. Anyone else on that?
I stressed from the beginning of this whole thing about bringing more businesses to town. I have a business in Keene. I listen to a lot of people. I see a lot of people. And I talk to a lot of business owners that would love to move their business to Swansea because the taxes in Keene are so high, and they would love to move their business. I talk to large businesses in Keene that would love to bring their business to Swansea. I think what we need to do is make that opportunity, and we need to give them opportunities to bring businesses to town. I think that's the most important thing to do. Non-apartment buildings and not storage sheds.
Yep, that's exactly it.
You're here.
Exactly it.
Go ahead, get it out.
Exactly it.
Hi, I'm Sherry Domina from Swansea Lake Road. The master plan talks a lot about rural character in Swansea. I guess my question is, what does rural character mean to you, and what's one thing you would support doing to conserve it?
I think that's an easy one for me. Because the growth of town, and when people want to come in and build, we have zoning regulations, site plan regulations, and the RSAs. If they come in for a project and their project falls within the zoning requirements, the planning board just makes sure they follow those regulations. That's all we can do. We can encourage. We can look at the zoning and say, hey, this summer again, we're going to look at zoning again. Come in, talk to the planning board. What do you think we should change on the zoning to encourage more business and less of the apartment buildings? We took a step there, and then the other thing is to, when you go to the polls this year, if we can get through the legislature, the constitutional amendment, vote for that, because that's going to put more power back to us so that we can write zoning regulations and we know they'll stay there and that the state will not override them with their legislation.
Jay Ward, I would say that rural character to me means chances to enjoy our rail trails, our ponds and lakes, our hiking trails, and some of our beautiful vistas that we have in this town. It means that we are able to support farms as well as residences as well as businesses. It means that we are essentially a town with character beyond Route 10, 12, and 32. But we are a town that has the ability to enjoy our nature and preserve it. Ways to preserve it, we can look at things like conservation lands and so on, but zoning is really the place to start, as Mike said. So the more that we're able to make sure that we have the proper zoning in the proper places in town, the better we're off. And that's not something the selectmen really have a chance to do. It's really the planning board. So vote for Mike and Mike Scalera for planning board, and they will work on that.
It seems to me what I'm hearing tonight is that the zoning board and the planning board are very important here, because it seems like everything keeps going back to, oh, it's the zoning, oh, it's the planning. So as selectmen, maybe we got to step up and make sure that we do the right thing with the zoning board and the planning board, because it seems like we're putting all the blame on the zoning and the planning, and all these things are happening. You know, I think we can have both. I think we can have a beautiful community. You know, my son said to me the other day, he walked in my office, he said, you know, Dad, we are so lucky to live in the town of Swanzey. He gets on his four-wheeler, he loves the nature, he drives around, he's out, and he probably hit every piece of ground in this town of Swanzey and experienced it with him and his dog. And I think that is beautiful for a child or a kid to grow up in this town. But we also need businesses, and I'm going to stress that.
Agreed, yeah.
Okay.
We control.
Correct.
I think it's your turn.
Hi, I'm Bob DeRocha from East Swansea. I've listened to quite a bit of discussion here tonight on the fire department. We've been with mutual aid for 50, 75 years, tied with the city of Keene. They seem to have pretty good equipment up there that arrives unseen down here quite appropriately. I think the current site that's been picked is totally wrong. And the reason for that is that site is less than 3 miles from the central fire station up Keene. That would require that ladder truck be put there, which is not good. I talked to Sly, and he had another suggestion. I think a good spot for what they're proposing in North Swansea, or up where the current site is, would be over in West Swansea, right where Nick's Restaurant is, buy that property, and use that property as part of the fire station for offices, and also put an office over there for the PD, because that's a growing part of town. But that might be a good topic. Everybody's had a chance to talk here tonight, but that might be a good thing to do after town meeting or sometime, to actually have a round table meeting like this and discuss the other properties that are in town that are going to be available. The school department may decide they want Cutler School for their administrative offices. They could very well take Title IX over there. That would free up SAU Building 38 and also the Wilcox School. That would give the town of Swansea, if it put small fire garage where the Wilcox property is, where the SAU building is, take some offices out of that, like the code enforcement, health, you could put conservation's office in there, and something else like recreation. There's a lot of different uses for these different buildings, but I think the board should weigh in on this and perhaps get people together to get a good consensus before we waste money on a fire department. I think the Sly had the best idea. Put a big station over in West Swansea, because from the city of Keene down there is a lot more mileage than the North Swansea spot. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Full disclosure,
Slide, you have to get in line. No, I guess. No, please.
my name was brought up. Full disclosure. Sly Karasinski, 27 Park Street. My wife is running for CPA. That's my bona fides. I never said that, Bob. What I told you is, being a past fire chief, Swansea's needs, we're looking at 50, 60 years out. We're going to need a fire station over there on Route 32.
We're going to need a fire station on Route 10. And we're going to need a fire station down in East Swansea. There's no way around it. We're 45 square miles. We're 5 communities or villages that make up one town. We have the economy of scale. This is, you guys had your meeting, and I wasn't going to say anything, but I do need to clarify that. We need to do something over here on 32, then we need to do Route 10, and finally we need to do East Swansea. You have to grow the town incrementally. You can't just build all 3 stations at once. And you can't have one station cover the whole town. No. And while I'm up here, I'd like to recognize Barry Faulkner, our representative that is putting through a bill. Hopefully it's passing so we can protect our covered bridges that are constantly getting hit. The live free or die state that we are, they don't allow identifying vehicles and license plates by video, except for bridges and DOT bridges. So what we're asking Barry to do is make an exception for our covered bridges, so we can get somebody that goes through it, damages it, to pay for it, and hopefully end this problem of destroying our covered bridges. Thank you, Barry.
Sly, thank you very much for the clarification. Appreciate that. Okay.
Kirsten Lane Kunick, East Shore Road, Swansea Lake. One, I'm going to say a plea, a thought to consider, and a question. The plea, please don't take money out of the roads. Considering we had no road for a portion of time this past summer, let's keep that money where it belongs, because there were several of us that were stuck without being able to get out because, but the road crew came in and they did a great job, so let's please keep that going. So that's my plea. My thought to ponder, if you are looking at trying to get more people to vote, maybe you consider moving the vote to May so that we don't have storms like we did this past March, where it's unsafe to get to the polling booths. That's a thought to ponder. May on the schools, there's things that can go on. I know at the community that I used to live in, they used to have a big festival with people. The kids would have like a fair that they would have. They had the community out. They had chicken barbecues. It was a great way to get people out to vote. So that's a thought. And then the question is, 7 of you are running. 6 of you will not be elected. What do you plan to do for the town if you are not elected? What is the thing that you're going to continue to do for this town?
Yes, please.
I will remain, whether I get elected or not, I will remain on the Conservation Commission and as an alternate on the Zoning Board, and I will continue to be a voice on issues and follow along and watch the meetings and show up and make a nuisance of myself.
I'm going to continue to go to meetings. When we were at, Jimmy went to a selectmen meeting together, and after the meeting, they said, Mike Brantley said, you guys should come even if you don't win. So I'm going to participate more.
I also will be on the planning board if I'm not here, and I continue that work, and I continue to push for local control. So, Swansea, I look at legislation on a daily basis, and I say, what is good for us as a town, as a community, and what is not. I go to testify in Concord on these, which everyone should experience at one time. However, if you can't go because you work or something, you can email your legislator, okay? Barry and Bruce have been very helpful in responding to town needs. I talked to Bruce after our testimony on the constitutional amendment, and he agreed to work with us, and that's what you have to do. If you don't talk to these people, they don't know what you want. So I will stay active in the community.
Lisa Thorne. I will stay active on the zoning board. I also plan on being involved in trying to get some more programs, and I'm hoping we can utilize the East Swansea Community House for some programs for the community, especially for the kids. And I will continue to be a thorn in everybody's side about all of those trucks going over the bridge.
Charlie Harbeck. I will continue working over at the yard and watch the meetings online.
Jimmy Tempesta, I'll continue to go into meetings with Mark because we had some fun going to the meeting. But I just want to have the opportunity. There was a gentleman here that he talked about the fire department. I don't think anybody, never went back to that. But I just wanted on record that I'm going to ask again. I've asked 3 times, and I think it's going to be very important that we put the fire chief decision on hold again. I'm going to say it again. Until the 3rd selectman gets voted in.
I agree.
We have 2 selectmen that are going to decide our new fire chief. And I don't know what you guys know about the last fire chief or what happened. I don't think many people do. But I think we need a full board to pick the fire chief. The process keeps going on where interviews are being happened and all this is being happened, and I think, what is the big rush? If it's that much of a rush that we do it, then it's that important to have 3 selectmen on the board.
Yep, I agree with that.
Yes, I agree.
And I continue to say it. I went to the town hall, I talked to Mike, I talked to Bill, and I asked Bill, but I'm asking again tonight, please, we got 12 days, 15 days, or whatever days it is. We made it this far without a fire chief. Let's get 3 opinions on what we can solve about that problem. We're talking so much about the fire station, but we don't have a solid fire department to go in it yet. We need to fix the problem first. It feels to me that we got the wagon and the pony behind the wagon. We need to get the pony in front of the wagon, which is a good, solid fire department to put in the building. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Sir?
How you doing? My name is Eric May. I'm 15 Dartmouth Road, born and raised here. Back in the day when the post office would be across the street, Mike Gamarla had his business down the road here, across the bridge. And when they did the town band that came down the street, we could get on our bikes and follow it everywhere. So I love the community. I hope to lay my head to rest here. We talk about expansion, and there's been a ton of growth in the time that I've lived here in just a few short years that I've been alive. That's a joke, everyone. And yet we talk about increasing services and all these things. And I look across the room here today, and how are we going to, with the increased costs, how are we going to be able to have young families move into our community who can afford, who can raise their families? And then the second part of that is, how can we then pass the baton? How can we pass the baton so that Swanzey, there are many people who are not here with us today, they've passed on. And how can we pass the baton on? Not just in getting involved in politics and the government and running that, which is great, but how can we pass the essence and the culture of Swanzey onto the younger families and generations if we can't get them into our community? That's my question. So the question being, how are you going to attract, encourage, how can you get the younger generations to not just be involved in this, which is important, but just into our communities? Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, we have an excellent recreational director that's always expanding the children's programs here. That's going to be a very important factor. And the plus is the fact that we're building a new school. Schools are one of the important things for the young families when they move into a town. So I think that between that, the cost of living is not going to go down. unless we make the right decisions in November. So kudos to our recreational director for doing the programs for the children, because that's very important. Between that and the school, that's going to get the young people back in the town.
Lisa Thorne. I agree we need the young people back in the town, but they need a place to live. I've got one of my daughters right now is expecting. She's pretty young, and other than my basement, I don't know where they're going to live. There's no affordable housing for the young people. And again, I think it all comes full circle back to planning and zoning. We need to have some more single-family housing, affordable housing, but not just the housing. We need to have businesses to offset those taxes.
Yeah, Jay Ward, I was going to say that there are few things we can do, but we have to be intentional about how we do it. But we need to, instead of going after multifamily housing, we need to encourage single-family housing, and we need to make it possible for a young intern doctor in Keene to bring his family to Swanzey to live. I mean, well, he works in Keene, and own a home here, and raise his kids here, and so on, or her kids here. I think that this is a very, very important issue, and the ways to do that are going to be maybe it's as simple as working to expand the sewer, but that's going to take money. We have to work on the West Swansea sewage plant right now. We're at capacity, and we can't really have more users until we upgrade the facility. One of the things on the warrant is a study to see what needs to be done to that facility. So if we can encourage the right kind of housing, and I'm talking about homes, not apartments, we're likely to see that. One of the things I want to share with you is that one of the things that the Interact Club did was participate in a survey that the some UNH people did, and they asked the kids questions about what they liked about Swansea, and it was all, they really loved the rural character, they liked the small town feel, and they were all told, they all said to the people that they want to leave. They want to leave, and they want to go out, and they want to have college elsewhere. They want to go experience things, but they also want to come back. And it's really important that they be able to come back to this town. These are great kids. These are the kids that volunteer and everything, and we want those kids in our community. So we need to provide housing for these kids when they want to raise families of their own.
I agree 100%, but I also agree with we have to push the members and the parents of this community to teach their kids to get out there and work and earn it and respect and all that. I have 2 kids in their 20s that both bought land and homes, but I taught them that you got to get out there and you got to work. So we can't take on parenting, but we can take on giving them opportunity. But it works hand in hand. You know, you got to bring up kids in the community, correct, to have use these opportunities and teach them how to use these opportunities.
I hate to say it, but we're going right back to the zoning regulations now.
Here we go.
We only have, if you look at, I was a realtor at one time too. If you look at what's available in town right now for a single-family home, is 1 3-acre lot up on Winch Hill, and the cost is $84,000 for a building lot. We have a lot of great 6th grade roads around, okay, where we, in town, has said no building. There's a lot of that. West Hill Extension, you go up through there, there's a road that goes all the way to Chesterfield. There's a lot of acreage up there, but nobody can build up there because you can't on a Class 6 road.
So the hour is getting late. If there's anyone here that wants to ask a question before, this might be our final question, and this will be for the second time. Is there anyone here that wants to ask the candidates a question before we wrap things up? Then I would go to the mics. Otherwise, we'll get you for the second time.
Okay, Bob DeRocha from East Swansea. I just want to go up slightly. Yeah. I don't agree with this philosophy of revamping all the 3 stations into big stations. The current stations that we have here have been here for how many years? And we have a population of 7,500. How much is it going to grow within the next 5 years? I think I'm getting back to my point. I would like to see the fire department have Article 3 defeated so that we can come back to a roundtable here and decide on a good solution.
Okay, that concludes our candidates' night. We want to thank everybody for coming. We want to especially thank the candidates. Great conversation. We'll see you this summer at Coffee Connections. And the audience, thanks for coming, voters. Good night. Remember, you got mics.
All right, give them to them.
Hey, guys. Thank you. That was fantastic. You guys did a great job. Thank you. That was really good. That was exactly